Hello, this is Erie County District Attorney John Flynn, and welcome to our weekly YouTube videos. Last week we were off. I was actually down in Florida last week, and so we're back here this week. And as I sit here right now, the governor of New York State, Governor Andrew Cuomo, has just signed the bill that passed in the New York State legislature last night to legalize marijuana in New York State. New York State has become the 16th state in the country to now legalize marijuana. And so going forward, that is going to have a number of ramifications on our criminal justice system. Now, let me just point out from the very beginning here that neither myself nor the District Attorneys Association of the state of New York came out against the overall legalization of marijuana bill. Myself and our association had some major concerns, however, on the driving while under the influence of marijuana aspect of this legislation. The original bill contained a provision that said that if you are caught driving under the influence of marijuana, that would no longer be a misdemeanor, that would be a violation, a speeding ticket, the equivalent of a cell phone ticket or not wearing a seatbelt. Obviously, I felt very strongly about that it had to remain a misdemeanor. Our DA's Association advocated that it remain a misdemeanor, and to the governor's credit and to the legislator's credit, they kept it a misdemeanor. So it is still a misdemeanor now to drive under the influence of marijuana. However, there is a bit of a loophole, a gap, probably a better word here. Under New York state law, in order to prosecute someone for driving under the influence of any controlled substance, you need to have two things. First, you need to have the law enforcement officer be able to articulate and identify an impairment of the driver in some manner or form. That's one. Number two is that you have to identify the illegal substance that was ingested or used by the driver. Now, under the new marijuana law here, marijuana has been removed from the controlled substance list now in New York State. However, again, to the legislator's credit, they added in cannabis to the vehicular and traffic portion of where you cannot drive under the influence of marijuana. So that was good, okay? The problem is going to be that if an officer recognizes some impairment of the individual without identifying what the drug is, we can't prosecute. So if it's an edible, if it's some of these odorless marijuana products that are out there, okay, unless the driver admits they were smoking marijuana, we're not going to be able to prosecute that case. And again, that is a big gap. That is a serious problem that we have here, all right? That can be fixed easily. All the legislator has to do is change the definition of marijuana to make it where it says that a drug is any substance or combination of substances that impairs to any extent physical or mental abilities. That simple one-line phrase added into the statute would eliminate the need of having to identify the particular drug that an individual used. So again, I'm very hopeful that we can get that language added in at a later date. I'm hopeful that we can address the fact that in the current statute right now, it is legal to use marijuana in a public park or on a public street. I don't think the legislators knew that was in the bill, quite frankly, or realized that was a ramification of this bill. And so, there are certain aspects of this bill that I don't like, obviously, that I want to have changed. And again, going forward, I think that we can work with our elected officials in Albany to hopefully make the correct changes here that need to be made. I also hope that Albany funds this legislation properly. We're going to need a lot more drug recognition experts. They're called DREs, drug recognition experts. We're going to need a lot more of them in New York State. As a matter of fact, every police officer in New York State should probably be trained as a DRE. That's going to cost money. And I'm hoping that Albany does the right thing here and properly funds this piece of legislation. So while, again, I was not opposed to the overall legislation, I do have some concerns about specific issues in the legislation that mainly deal with driving, because it's my job and my number one priority with this bill to keep the roadways safe. And so we'll see how it is going forward. We'll see you next week.